I have handpicked 6 secret questions that a lot of people in a relationship just never ask, and they have the power to either ignite or save the relationship. Whether you are just starting a relationship, so you're new in, whether you've been in a relationship for a long time, you're engaged or married, or maybe as a single person, you just want the cheat codes. Let me go through these 6 important questions that will help you be better at your relationships. Number 1. What does my partner love that I just haven't been prioritizing lately? Sometimes we can get so caught up in receiving. Me. Like, I want to feel good. And like, this is no shade because we all do it. Sometimes we end up forgetting that we have to actively consider the other person and we have to prioritize them in the relationship. Like, that's a big part of being with someone. As humans, we are inherently selfish. We are wired to look out for ourselves first, which is why it is so important that you stop and ask yourself this question. What does my partner love that I just have not been prioritizing? Maybe it'll open a wider conversation of finding out again and having a refresher about what your partner needs from you. It could be something so small like getting up and giving them a good morning kiss, or it could be calling them on their lunch break and you know that they love it, but sometimes you just get so caught up in what's going on in your day and you get busy that you forget. But to them, it means a lot. A lot of being in a relationship is being intentional about considering the other person, and it's not easy. Question number 2. What is your favorite memory of our relationship so far? This question is actually twofold. It will spark off the happy hormones that our brain gives when we are reliving a special moment, especially if you do it together. But this question will also reveal and remind you of what's important to the other person. Maybe you assume that your girl wants some expensive, fancy dinner because you guys had one last year and it was fun and it was great. But in reality, to her, one ordinary night that you guys had last month where there was a special sunset, the view was great, and you both really just shared what was on your hearts and connected emotionally. And actually, that was a profound moment for her and a very, very favorite memory of hers. A lot of times we can get caught up with looking at things through our own lens. Maybe you really enjoy going out to eat because you're a foodie and you love to explore and eat different things. And it's really easy to then assume, oh, hey, maybe that's also what is really important to her. But actually, it could be something completely opposite. It could just be staying in, having a glass of wine and just talking. This type of question will bring you back to the basics. Number 3. How have I been unreasonably rigid in my relationship lately? And what more loving action can I take? Being in a serious and committed relationship is not for the weak, and it will be the best and hardest thing you can do in your life. A relationship really does hold up a mirror to our own ego, and we can see just how human and imperfect we really are. Your partner will always reflect the reality of who you are as a person. I heard a quote recently by Matthew Hussey when he was on a podcast, and he said that people who aren't flexible are rigid. And they are really hard to be around or do life with because it's their way or nothing. I would say if you are interested in someone and they come across as being very rigid, they are not willing to compromise, and they're not open, and they're just it's their way or the highway, then I would say that's a massive red flag. Being rigid in a relationship often happens because we as humans are driven by our own egos. It's just the reality. And we seek to maintain autonomy and independence. Sometimes we are not flexible because actually it's a defensive mechanism that we've learned through either trauma or things we've gone through in the past. It's a learned response. No matter the reason behind it, if we allow our ego to make us inflexible, it will lead you to being really rigid in your relationship. And actually, that's a really fatal trait. So with this question, you ask yourself this: how am I being unreasonably rigid in the relationship? Be honest, dig deep. And I guarantee that everyone will have an answer to this question, or they should if they're being honest. But don't forget, once you've answered this question for yourself, to come up with a game plan in your head of how you can take more loving action so you can actually be a more flexible partner in every way. And if you feel safe and secure enough, I would even ask your partner, in your eyes, how am I being rigid in our relationship? What do I need to be more flexible on? And allow them to answer. Number 4, what specific thing in the next few weeks can I do to apologize quicker for? My dad always taught me to say sorry quickly. The more that we allow a wrongdoing to stew and stir in a relationship, the more it can take hold and the more it will breed resentment and anger. Even if in your eyes you did something really small and maybe you didn't feel like there was any need to say sorry, you don't know how it has affected the other person. And it can be really easy to hold a grudge for things that are just left. We can all be better at this, I'm sure, like everyone. So when you're asking this question, you're not trying to eat the whole elephant at once by thinking, gosh, I need to be on top of everything and say sorry for everything as quickly as I can and never do anything wrong ever. No, you start trying to play a game where you try and say sorry the fastest and you don't even know what you're really saying sorry for. That can become really ingenuine and fake, and that's not needed in a relationship. This question is all about targeting a specific behavior that you need to change. And you know that it's probably going to happen the next few weeks again. And this is where you can be more aware of it, more self-aware, and you can work at it by either not doing it at all and stopping completely if you can, or if it does happen, you are quick to apologize and you are showing your partner that you're aware of it, you're working on it, and you are sorry if it happens. That actually does go a long way in a relationship. We all have behaviors and habits and things that we say that we need to change. And it's really important to not try and focus on not doing anything wrong, but actually specifically looking at one thing and working on that one thing to be better at it. Number 5, what easily offends me and why? And a bonus point question for all you tryhards is, how can I stop being so sensitive about it? We all have those quirks and those triggers that make us sensitive to certain types of situations. If you say you don't, you're lying. I have found firsthand experience that if you can bring these types of answers into the light with your partner, it really helps to diffuse any feelings of offense and also sensitivity. Now, it may not take it away completely. You might always be a little sensitive to that one phrase or that one thing that happens, but it will soften it for sure. I personally had certain visceral reactions that are not normal to things that Nick has said to me. You know, he's done in complete innocence and in jest. And I've had to be self-aware that actually, Tori, you are way overreacting here. But I've also had to have a conversation as to why that happens. And usually for people, there's a deeply rooted issue in their life or a trauma. For example, if you've experienced verbal abuse and you just have like really knee-jerk reactions to certain things that are said or done around you. The honest conversations that this question will spark are priceless. I guarantee it will go a long way to creating longevity in your relationship, because it's all about bringing things into the lights and not trying to hide them away in the dark. I've seen a lot of relationships where the guy thinks the other girl acts crazy and is so sensitive, but actually they haven't had a conversation as to why that happens. And usually there's a really profound reason why she has this reaction. So it's really important to open up about even the small things that you think aren't such a big deal. Number 6, what am I withholding from my partner in our relationship? Now, this question does not just look at secrets you may or may not be keeping from your partner. I don't think there really should be any secrets, but this is more addressing ways in which we as humans can withhold things in our relationships, whether it be intimacy, energy, money, affection, vulnerability. This is a really hard question for any of us to ask ourselves. But if you can weather the raw honesty that this type of question prompts, the results are going to be a game changer for your relationship. So I'm going to be really honest and raw here. I've had to personally recognize that for me, sometimes I can close up and withhold my vulnerability and my emotions and my presence when I feel hurt. It's also, I think, for me, a defense mechanism to keep myself from getting hurt. I've had to be really aware of that, and it's not an easy habit to change. It's also really not an easy thing to bring up and talk about, but I have found in my relationship that it has been key because Nick can often sense when I'm closing up or I'm not being as emotionally present. And it might not be like a thing that he's said or done to me to hurt me. It might just be like something has happened within my life that's caused me to like just close right up. It's been really a growing and a vulnerable experience having someone know that about you. And now you guys all know that about me too. I would say having those types of really raw and really real conversations has been the reason why the relationship that I have with Nick is so strong. And I would just encourage you to ask this question to yourself and to your partner and have a time where you guys are really honest with each other. If you would like to see another video on relationship science, then make sure you click on this video right here.